Okay, so our chocolate is now completely melted. I'm at 125 degrees Fahrenheit. I overshot the 120 by a little bit. There's no problem with that. The critical temperature is 65 degrees Celsius or 150 Fahrenheit. Above those temperatures, the lecithin that we added, remember we added lecithin as an emulsifier. Well, lecithin is not very heat stable, and above those temperatures, the lecithin will break down and you'll lose that magical effect that's created by the emulsifier. Also, milk chocolates shouldn't be kept above 65 degrees Celsius, 150 Fahrenheit, for any length of time as well, because it can break down the milk proteins. You can have some degradation, actually even some burning of the milk proteins, which creates off flavors and off textures in the milk chocolate. So again, you can overshoot 120, but never overshoot 150. Okay, so I'm gonna let this cool. All right, because we want to begin our tempering process. So now that we've melted all the crystals, now we've got to reform them again, but in a controlled fashion. So I'm just going to let that cool. Then we're going to talk a little bit about molds. Today, we're going to make bars, and I'm going to use two different types of molds. They're both polycarbonate molds, and I like polycarbonate. They're hard plastic, and I like polycarbonate because first of all, there's a very good demolding. The bars demold very nicely from polycarbonate molds. And also, when you're stirring chocolate and tempering chocolate, you incorporate air. And that air can create bubbles in the chocolate a lot of times on the surface or in the back. And that's not very pretty. So I like to get all those bubbles out. And the way we do that is after we fill the mold, we got to bang them. Good polycarbonate molds, I can really bang them and get those bubbles out. And I'm going to use two. This is I'm going to use for the plain bars. It's a shallow mold. It's relatively shallow. I'm going to use it for the plain bars without the inclusions. And the reason I like a shallow mold for plain bars is because I think it gives a good bite. And you know, a dark chocolate, you know, can be pretty hard. And so, you know, if the bar is thin, you can bite into it easily, it breaks easily, and it melts down very nicely in the mouth. And so I'll use the thinner mold for the plain dark chocolate. Now, if I put inclusions in a thin mold, it wouldn't be deep enough, and I'd create a very rough texture on the back, and that might be difficult if I wanted to wrap the bar. All right, it's fine if you're not going to wrap it, you're just going to eat it. But if you're going to wrap the bar, you want a smooth back. All right. For the included bars, I'm going to use a bigger mold, and a deeper mold. And same principle. I've got to bang out the air, but this deep mold will allow the inclusions to settle down lower and allow a smoother surface on the back. It'll still be pretty rough because I'm going to add a lot of inclusions, because that's one of the good things about making your home chocolate bars is you can add a lot of inclusions, whereas commercial bars are limited by the depositor. If there's too many inclusions, too many other products besides the chocolate, it won't go through the nozzle when the bar is deposited. But these are done by hand, and that's the beauty of working by hand as an artisan. You can pretty much do what you want. And the other thing too is that the inclusions make the bar break easier, and so the bar can be thicker and it won't be as hard to break. I've got these other molds as well. Again, they're all polycarbonate, and these are different shades. These can be used to make, you know, solid pieces. I like this kind of oval or half egg design. What I'll do with these is I'll actually put the inclusions in the mold. I won't mix the inclusions in with the chocolate, and I'll put them in the mold. And then when I pour the chocolate in, you know, it settles down, but the inclusion kind of stays at the bottom of the mold. And you can, when you demold it, you can see the inclusion, and it's not covered with chocolate, so you can clearly see like an almond or a pistachio or a cherry. And that gives a very interesting appearance. It gives some visual appeal. And so we'll do that. And I can even do it in the bars. I can grind up, I could just sprinkle this in the bars and then pour the chocolate on top. Chocolate would solidify, and I could see these at the surface. But I'm not going to do that because we don't have enough chocolate, and I'm demonstrating just these two specific cases. But keep that in mind. You can be as creative as you want. In fact, if you go to chocolate shows and see what people are doing, really artisan stuff. I'm not an artisan. I make the chocolate. I'm not really, my specialty is not really working with chocolate. However, there are artisans out there who do beautiful things. Some of them will spray cocoa butter with food coloring or colored cocoa butter on the bottom of the mold and pour the chocolate on top, and then you've got a chocolate bar which has a blue shine on top of it or something like that. So really you can do all of these things, and I'll leave that to you to develop your own craft, and we'll just kind of get to the basics. So I'm gonna turn off now, because I'm going to start to cool this chocolate down. And when it starts to cool, we'll start up again and we'll talk about tempering.